by Will Wheeler, a man at the center of everything. Will, has your phone been ringing a little bit this week?
It stopped ringing about the last 10 minutes, and I expect it to start ringing in the next 10 minutes.
So for those of you who don't know, Senator Carl Esslinger from Southern Missouri represents Porter Wagner Boulevard, everywhere. She's representing Ripley County. Now she's representing over to Branson. Billy Yates, the Yakov Smirnoff. That's quite a swath of Southern Missouri. She's going to go after session and run the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Longtime Commissioner Margie Van Dieven has said she's going to decide in July. So Senator Esslinger is going to stay for session, right?
Yes.
She's going to head over, run DESE after session. Let's just start at the top. You know her better than anybody in town. Her name was at the front of this list for a long time. I mean, the president of the Missouri State's called for the commissioner to resign a long time ago. She's not been alone. She's done it, and also I think Commissioner Van Dieven's done the job for so long. She's probably done it as long. She's probably, whatever the date is, you could reasonably expect. She's served longer. You're going to build up some. You're not going to add to your friends usually, right?
Especially in a town like Jefferson City with term limits, where you're dealing with new people every 8 years. The friends you made, they have gone back home. They are back on their farm, and the new people come along, and maybe they don't have the same opinion of you.
I watched. This happened with the lady Shivi I admire a lot. She ran the lottery longer than you would normally expect. Whatever the average time of running a job like that, because she's good at it. That's why. I mean, you don't serve longer unless you're good at it. But also, it's a grueling job. I mean, we said it here on and we talk about folks. I watch. I don't know them. They'll refer them by their last name, like there's some kind of familiar with them. These are human beings. These are grueling jobs in a public fishbowl. And Commissioner Van Dieven, I do think, did the best she could do. Where she's concerned, I don't think there was like subversive motives or she wasn't shy. I mean, when she makes a decision, whether you agree with it or not, these decisions are tough. Mike Keogh told me during COVID one time, he said, the definition of a challenging situation is when you could truly sit back and say, you know what, you have two choices. And both of them you could argue either, right? And she's a lot of those choices, but she's stepping aside. Carl Esslinger, why did she want to go do this? I mean, to some folks, this is going to look like a demotion.
Well, and I talked to her mainly about what all went into her decision, but when she made the decision, she knew it was the right one. At every single step of her professional education career, teacher, principal, superintendent, driving the buses when a bus driver wasn't able to come in, working up here at the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, going and working for the Department of Education under President Trump, she's been successful. And I think you could probably poll 10 people and go walking the hallway, and all 10 of them would say there needs to be a little bit more success at DESE. There's some things we need to fix.
She's got a rare here, right? In Jeff City, you're either known as a charter school lackey or you're known as an education establishment lackey, and there's very little room, or you just don't care that much about schools. There's a lot of legislation. I mean, every legislator runs for 2 or 3 reasons. And a lot of them are schools. It's one of the top-ish reasons people do run for office. But also, there's a lot of folks that don't run because of schools, right? They just, it's not, that's not on their list of things. And so they're just sort of like, well, we'll let when you get up here, if you run for office because you want to be the decision maker on everything, that's not real. You're the governor. That's just not how, that's not how our system's set up.
No.
But if you have a background in it, you learn an issue set, you go to work at it, I think you can kind of learn and be respected. And the difference is, she was respected before by the education folks and the term folks. It is truly an interest. She truly is someone who's respected on both sides of that perspective. And I think I'm going to be honest with you. I think there's a growing segment of folks. Senator Carter got elected, and she came up here, and I think folks thought, well, she'll just do right wing stuff. She'll just whatever the right wing people on Facebook say, she'll do that. That's not the case. She came up with a different idea about DESE, which was essentially just to get rid of it. And what shocked me was the number of education establishment people that were like, let me think about this. Then they were like, it's a great idea. They're like, that's what we're going to do. I do think there's a growing sentiment to say, just like there's a growing sentiment to get rid of the nation. I think that if you ask folks what DESE does, you're not going to get a great positive vibe in the Capitol right now. And I do think if they didn't come out with a truly respected leader, those calls were going to grow.
I think you're right in that. I think one of my favorite phrases that Senator Esslinger's always had is a good school is a good school, whether that's a home school, a private school, a charter school, Senator Carter's alumni school of East Newton. A good school is a good school no matter what it is, and that should be the job of DESE. The good schools that are succeeding, having positive student outcomes, that are raising our next future leaders to be successful and to do everything they want, leave them alone. Let them continue to succeed, continue to grow and prosper. And the ones that need some help, whether it's a public school, whether it's a charter school, no matter what school it is, let the resources there to allow them to be successful and see where we're able to help those school districts rise to the top.
So walk me through where you when you sit down and you go into DESE. If you have a good school, could you argue for DESE leave them alone? Don't bother?
I think that's going to be a common thing that happens over at DESE under.
They started that pilot program. They kind of took Senator Carter's bill and I'm not sure that something tells me that maybe it wasn't the most wholesome intentions with it. Or and maybe it was all they could get done, or it's a very complicated thing to take a bureaucracy whose job is to regulate something and say, okay, we're going to give you the chance to not be regulated. I don't know that was, if I had to guess, there's going to be people that no matter what say that was a failure and look at it. But is it possible for you to say, okay, if your school's doing well? I mean, I hear the MAP test is awful from everybody. I don't know who supports the MAP test. It's like IP reform, though. You want schools to be regulated somehow. You got to tell them if they're doing well or not doing well, right?
Well, there's a state tax dollar going there. Wherever there's a state tax dollar, you should be accountable to the taxpayers to make sure that tax dollar is going to be the most efficient, is going for the right purposes.
So you got to have some kind of
no matter what, there's going to be more accountability and transparency at DESE.
So, but if the accountability means you have to give those kids a test. So if you get rid of the MAP test, which I think it's so much like IP reform. I think the people I know in schools, if you let them say, is the MAP test good? It would be like 80% say, no, it's not good. But then you decide, okay, so we have consensus on the MAP test is bad. We're going to change it to. And that's where the whole splinter of no one's going to agree. And I bet you that's why the MAP test has stuck around for so long. It's not that anybody thinks it's the greatest. It's just that you'd have to change it to something, right? I know there's Michael Oderwig, somebody I respect a lot on these issues. He has some ideas on charting kids throughout that. And I've seen Senator Carter talk about that and some others. Maybe that's the way. But I'll just tell you, kids aren't stupid.
No.
My son, Gussie, he knows how many yards that Travis Kelce has when Taylor Swift's at the game and when he's not at the game. My son knows if you're telling him, okay, Dad, I'm going to bring this report card home, and Dad's going to be real ticked if it doesn't have A's on it, right? And I'm not going to get a new wrestling figure, and I'm not going to get he's just this Pokemon thing concerned about. I think Pokemon could be a plot by the Japanese to bomb Pearl Harbor.
I'm always Nerf guns, never. Nerf guns are always good.
And I love how you played Nerf guns with him. He would know you before he would know the governor. Well, the governor's
pretty popular with Gussie.
The governor gives him those challenge coins and hot chocolate. So, but you're more proud than those of you played Nerf guns. But back to my point, Gussie knows if he takes a test and it's going to count his grades, and I'm going to give him crap about, he's going to pay a little more attention. And if he knows it's not going to count, well, he's not going to care. So I don't know how you give – kids aren't stupid. Kids are the most self-interested people of anyone because they have a base level. They know what's good for their day and bad. So I guess my point is, you have to come up with some way this counts on those kids or engage parents. Say if your kid bombs this test, if the kid doesn't have any consequence, why the hell would you think they'd care?
Well, and I think that's the difference in when maybe you and I grew up versus what we see in today's generation is if I brought that report card home, my parents were going to the teacher immediately.
But the math tests aren't on the report card. That's my point.
Yes.
And the math tests aren't – that kid has no ramifications if he bombs the math test. But if he bombs his normal history test, then mom and dad are on his back and the teacher on his back. But if he bombs the map test, who cares?
Yep.
Kids aren't stupid. So I think it's an amazing job. This is my gut. This is my white trash. And this is not my Stein knowledge. This is my Getty of knowledge from the Jeopardy Sheriff Dave Marshak. Thank you again, bud. I drink out of this more than you. I kind of rotate this one. Toots is up at Maine Maisie Boy. and then my I can't say what's on the other one I rotate, and then my C-Bar K one that Kehoe gave me. Speaking of Kehoe, you're going to stick around and be on the television show this week, right?
Absolutely.
You and Garnett are going to argue after interview Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe Sunday on This Week in Missouri Politics. But I tell you, I think there's a bunch of hard things. I have been a defender of education. I still am. I think it's the greatest thing it's the best way for a rural kid to achieve their dreams. I think Flat Doug would agree with me on that. Mike Moon was on, and we put a thing up. If you look up at Flat Doug, it says I 100% agree. Flat Doug, when Mike was talking, almost came off the wall. One day I'd like to have I'd like to have Doug stand in here if we get his sign.
Oh, see which one's the better Doug.
Or he could just stand there for like 20 minutes and all of a sudden walk out. And he step forward, put his hand on her. But I think there's probably a bunch of hard things that have to be done. And I think probably the education folks themselves are going to have to say, okay, I feel this. I feel like this legislative year, because of all the elections and some of the personalities, and Caleb and Brad and Bill Eigel have argued for 7 years, really for 5 years. Tell me that they're not going to have the penultimate argument this year. I just don't buy that they won't. These are human beings. It's hard. But the first year of a new governor, there's going to be change in education, and there's going to be three camps. There's going to be the camp of let's get money to charter schools. There's going to be the camp of let's burn it all down. There's going to be the camp of let's do nothing. And I think that I would say for the first time, next legislative session, the one that starts a year from January, the let's do nothing camp is in the minority.
I think the let's do nothing camp doesn't have a lot of members left in it. I think where we are in state of education in Missouri, top to bottom, everyone sees the need for change. Senator Esslinger is going to finish the Senate term, and it gives her a 6-month window from January until the end of May to come up with a plan of action of how to change.
And say, guys, this isn't going to hold. Either there's two things that are going to happen here. There's going to be people that are passing legislation to burn everything down, or we're going to have to bring change. We're going to have to look at some, and that doesn't mean you just totally privatize everything. That there's a lot of things. A Becky Lohman and a Carl Esslinger and a Doug Beck can sit in a room and find some things that are good for everyone. And I think in the charter schools, they're going to have some more regulation, right? I mean, it makes no sense to regulate the hell out of something for a bunch of Republicans that believe in no regulation, to regulate the hell out of something and then hardly regulate anything at all, and then expect the things to be the same. I mean, it does feel like all the game, and what's going to happen, something is going to break free. And what that looks like, she's probably the best person in the state to sit there and say, okay, you want to burn it down, I get it. You want to invest in charges, I get it. But we got to do this in a smart way. That's to me, the difference in some of these Republicans is, 2+, you can be conservative, you can be innovative, but 2 + 2 = 4. It's like saying we're going to cut all taxes and everybody will be fine. No, they won't be fine. Even if you're a Republican, you want to pick you up in rural Missouri. If you're in the Boot Hill, you want the drainage district to drain the damn water. And if you don't drain the damn water, bad things happen. And so it's an interesting thing to me how going forward we just have to. She feels like the right person, the right place, at the right time.
And I don't know all of the former DESE commissioners, but in my most recent knowledge, this will be the first DESE commissioner to have served in the legislature, actively coming from the legislature, who's going to have those relationships with a Majority Floor Leader O'Laughlin, with a soon-to-be Speaker of the House, John Patterson, when those hard questions need to be asked from the legislature to a new Commissioner Esslinger, questions are going to be answered. And I don't know if that's always been the case in the past.
I think I watched this with Nick Castro. Started off very involved, got less so over time. I think anybody in these jobs, you get isolated because you're doing things, you're engaged with people. Those people just leave with term limits. Our legislators got more and more extreme as term limits went on both ways. I think you just kind of get worn out. I mean, I think you can only do that job all in so long, any of us, and you start to get burned out. And that'll happen to Carl Esslinger, like anybody else. But I think she could come in there in a few years and probably have some serious conversations with folks and say, the center will no longer hold. And I'll tell you my own story. I was as big a proponent of public education as anyone. I had a cornman moment. I ran into that superintendent that was just incompetent. I never say corrupt, but I'd say likely. And it just, I was done. And how many people in this state that are ticked at schools don't start off ticked at schools? They start off loving their schools. They started off being all districts or in a sport and having a great and getting a great education. They were into that one tyrant. And I my fear for Carl Esslinger is this. Those 10% of superintendents, like there's 10% of bad everything, right? There's 10% bad painters, bartenders, carpenters, coffee makers, whatever it is. That 10% of bad, of the worst, can start more fires than her and Charlie can put out. And I'm not sure that's not a little bit. They didn't start more fires than Margie could put out. And at the end of the day, I think if she is not successful in this, it'll be because that 10% of the worst, the cornmans. The cornmans will start more fires than she can put out.
And we have 500 plus school districts all throughout the state of Missouri. And you can even say it's not even a rural versus urban. Our urban schools are bad, our rural schools are bad. They need to be more like a Neosho high school is different from a Marshall high school, even though they might be the same size. The geography, the culture, because of just how diverse the state of Missouri is.
Suburban people do complain more and complain louder.
Well, you can't change that wherever you go.
Well,
they'll always be the biggest complainers.
Your rural folks are going to complain less. That's just how we are. The suburban people are going to complain, and also it's also the part of if you start to play about Neelyville High School, I'm like, well, hold on, wait a minute here, buddy. But if you move to St. Charles County when you're 30 to make a living, and you raise your kids you're hoping to live there for 20 years, 25 years, and then you're going to go retire at the ocean. You're going to go back home and retire. You don't have the same investments. Your criticisms could be harsher because your parents didn't go to school, your grandparents didn't go. You didn't go there. You're here to get a service, and you don't have the investment you have when you move somewhere for the rest of your life or you're from there. I think there's a lot of folks that, and you even see this in South City, in South County, in St. Louis. More of those folks come back. They're up there than a normal part of a suburban area. And I think you see them defending Melville and Oakville a little bit louder because a lot of the folks who have kids, the children of Melville and Oakville's parents went to Melville and Oakville, and Kirkwood's got a little bit of that too. And I think that helps. I think we like to make fun of our suburban friends, but they do complain a lot. But there's reasons. Like I complain more about something that's not a part of my fiber that I didn't grow with. I think that's just kind of baked into. That's who we all are. Any of us that. You could get a rural person to move there, and they're part of the complaint because you don't have that investment. Mm-hmm. It wasn't your uncle's buddy that's now the football. So it's just some guy you don't know that moved there from somewhere he doesn't know or that you don't know. Let's talk about the 33rd. Brad Hudson had already announced he was running Carl Esslinger. I don't think that campaign had caught a ton of fire yet, but it's hard. I mean, Carl Esslinger is someone that's very well liked back home. She is from back home. She knows those folks. With her out of the race, does Travis Smith get in?
If I'm a betting man today, I'd say Travis Smith gets in the race.
Take Stein of knowledge here. I think Travis is in. Wild card could be Robert Ross. Ran last time, lost by 100 and 200 votes, something like that, from Texas County, former legislator. He's a commissioner now. I wonder if Robert, interesting to me to see if Robert jumps in that race. I mean, when you look at it, the population, it's really an interesting thing. It is very evenly divided between the Branson area and the West Plains area. And I was, now that Wright County's out of it, you've got Texas Shannon there too now?
Texas Shannon, so the Oregon Ripley from the east side was lost. And then from the west side, they lost Webster and Wright County while picking up Stone, Taney, and Shannon. So the population breakdown really is Taney Stone probably has about 45, maybe 46% of the population. 54 to 53, whatever that small breakdown is going to be east of Stone and Taney County.
But Taney County is two counties.
Yes.
I mean, you've got your Branson folks, which are a lot of retirees from the suburbs. You got some service workers, but really the voting population is retirees around the lake there in Branson. And then the eastern side is Forsyth. It's Ozark County.
You probably got more cows than you got voters down there.
But it's your Ozark County type. So when you say Taney County is two different counties separated by a lake and river, right? I mean that Forsyth area is where the courthouse is. Those are folks that have lived there. They're folks that have lived there and 5-6 generation folks, probably Travis Smith voters, if I had to guess.
Well, and that's if you look at their two state house districts right now. Representative Hudson's district is split between Christian and Stone County, so 17,000 people that voted for Brad Hudson in his state rep race are not going to have the opportunity to vote for him in the state senate race, whereas Representative Smith has his entire state rep population falls within the boundaries of the 33rd senatorial district.
And then, but if Robert Ross runs, I mean, he's going to be picking the pocket of Travis.
I don't know if that's necessarily true, and I don't know if Robert Ross gets in the race.
Well, if you're an old boy from Texas County, right? If you're from Licking, I think you're more apt to vote. You're going to vote for Robert Ross, right? He's from your county, you know him. However, I wonder if I think if not, you're going to vote for the old boy from Howell County, right?
I think
a guy from Branson.
Over a guy from Branson. And we'll see how often Representative Hudson makes it over to that side of the district, too. I mean, if he wants to invest in that district, then maybe it's a chance.
County don't even know there is a Stone County, if I had to guess. I mean, they know where Branson is, obviously, but they're not going to know Stone County. If you say I'm from Stone County, they're going to be like, Missouri, Arkansas, where are you from? So I do think it'll be intriguing to see. I think Travis Smith can raise some money.
Yes.
I think he starts. I do think he'll have a solid base in Howell County. I think he probably has a claim on Texas, Ozark. I would Forsyth would be maybe a little bit more his supporters, but that Branson area, I would say that Hudson will do very well in Branson and in the home county of Stone County.
Yeah, I still would not count out Representative Smith going to that Branson area. Representative Smith has been a businessman. He has an economic background. He knows the needs of the Branson area. He's a great communicator. I wouldn't count Travis Smith out from winning Branson outright.
Well, Travis Smith don't have to win Branson to win Branson, right?
Doesn't have to,
but get a third of that vote. If he comes out with a third to 40% of that vote, he can't be beat.
Right. I would agree with that.
I mean, a win isn't necessarily 51% there. A win for Travis Smith is 35, 40%. And then the numbers just don't. There's not a rational way to get around him and the rest of the district, I think. Let's talk about the Senate next year. What are you guys in the office looking at? What'd you file, I guess?
So Senator Esslinger pre-filed 21 bills. 4 of them are education bills. We have
what was her 3 honey hole bills she got?
So number 1, we filed a bill dealing to establish an interstate compact for dentists or hygienists to make it easier for those professions to come into the state of Missouri and transition into practice sooner.
Can you get a way to get them shot to hurt?
I don't.
That's a tooth pull. That's the damnedest thing.
If we get better dentists, we can get that done.
Like it. Okay. What else you filed? What was your second bill?
Second bill. No, now I'm on the spot. We'll jump to number 3 right at the top of my head. Was a virtual education bill that Representative Chris Finelli had worked over the past 2 years. Last year, he wasn't able to get the fixes he liked across the finish line. Senator Esslinger had filed that bill, was going to team up with him to get that done.
Well, Phil will make a hell of a senator if he makes it.
He will.
I mean, he understands how to maneuver things. It's the difference between I know how to get on the internet and talk a bunch of bullshit and how to actually go make changes in statutes that affect folks in the state. Whatever you think of his policies or whatever they are, that guy understands legislation.
Well, I think that's the quality of a good senator. You take a good senator and Senator Esslinger, and you take who's going to be a good senator and a Representative Chris Finelli, who probably are on different ideological spectrums of the Republican Party, who can sit down, find out what's good, and pass a bill together.
What was your third one?
And I'm still racking the top of my head for that.
That's why it came in bronze medal, right? I get it. What does Will Wheeler do for Christmas?
Will Wheeler is going to the great state of Oklahoma. Go visit my family down there. My 2-year-old niece is with my sister, and so we're gonna have a good time.
Nice, I like that. I always want to thank folks that sponsor the show. The United Fiber. By the way, I have a Christmas gift for you. From me and the folks in Savannah. You can open it up.
Oh, we had to show off the gift. I mean, this is,
Premium Yeti.
United Fiber has always done quality broadband. They do quality Yeti.
I'm telling you, they know how to do it. You feel good about voting that broadband out of your office when you see how they do it with the fiber. I would encourage anybody to go up to Savannah. It's worth the trip. Go see Jim and the folks. And then if you got somebody coming in that wants to meet the new commissioner, right? Let's say you got an education issue you really care about, and you come into town, and you say, well, why don't we just meet at my hotel for breakfast? What hotel did you really want to put your best foot forward at? What hotel are you going to stay at?
Well, I can tell you this definitively: the soon-to-be commissioner's family stayed at the Courtyard by Marriott when she came for her press conference and announcement that she was going to be the new commissioner.
Boom! I mean, winner, chicken dinner. That's just how it goes in the streets. Let's talk it. Let's back up. Let's get a few predictions. Well, Kelton, by the way, shout out to my man, officially married. I told him, I was like, look, bud, send me the text. I'll pull behind the church and pick him if you need me to. He was intent on doing it. He's a happily married man now. I was glad I did. I did a radio program. I talked to the Attorney General. He said they were looking for him, but I wouldn't give you up, buddy. I'm not a rat. I don't need any stitches. I'm not snitching. But his illegal gambling is still going on. And last time we had Mike Mahoney, the Kansas City great journalist, obviously not great at gambling. We had Aaron Baker on, famed political consultant, obviously not famed gambler. Lincoln Huff, famed appropriator from your neck of the woods, obviously better at spending the state's money than his own. Alabama was 6.5-point dogs. They all took Georgia. And here, the gambling aficionado of West Butler County, I took Bama. And they played Sweet Home Alabama at the venue. I said they'd win. I have confirmation they did play Sweet Home Alabama between the first and second quarters. Alabama not only covered the spread, they won. And Kelton also took Georgia. I'm expecting my 40 bucks. You'd hate to have to break the bookies' knees, right?
Sometimes you got to get paid, though. Always
exactly.
Get paid.
All right, so went to the Cotton Bowl. Mizzou's in the Cotton Bowl. So this spread started out at 3. I noticed when they first made the announcement Sunday. It went down to 2.5 when I did radio yesterday.
In favor of Ohio State?
Ohio State. Now, guess what's happened? Ohio State's quarterbacks leaving town. Their two best players
scared of Eli.
Are not going to play, which I think sucks. See, I don't know what you do about that, but if I'm NCAA, these bowl games are the biggest game of the year, right? Play the damn games. If I was an NFL evaluator, I'd be like, that tells me that plays 12 games with this team that doesn't want to play the bowl game. That's a little shitty, I think.
Well, I can tell you who's definitely going to be playing for Mizzou, and that's Cody Schrader. The man was raised right. Just won the Burlsworth Trophy for.
I didn't know that was a thing. That's a cool trophy.
For outstanding walk-on. It's fantastic. Made it safely back into Arkansas and out of Arkansas. And we'll see him down in Texas.
Whipping on Arkansas. I heard that you had some of these there.
At the end of the day, I'm just happy Mizzou's got a good bowl.
The scoreboard did not have a conflicted loyalty.
No.
God, I mean, that was a whipping.
It was not close, and luckily I did not have a bookie to steal any money from me.
Yeah. So the new line here, it went from – so when I was doing radio yesterday, it was down to a 1-point Ohio line. Now the line has moved already within 1 day to Mizzou with a plus 1.5 points. What I feel – I'll start. I feel like Mizzou wants it more. I feel like it matters more. I feel like the Cotton Bowl – Ohio State was sitting in a catbird seat to go play in the college playoff all year. I feel like they're a little let down. I feel like their coach just has cold sweats of Jim Harbaugh. I feel like the Buckeyes are pissed. They haven't beat Harbaugh in 3 years. I think they're still obsessing over it. I think they're thinking about next November already. Mm-hmm. I think their players aren't playing because they're not committed. I think their quarterback's leaving town. I'm going to step out and say I feel good about Mizzou, not only given the point. I think wherever line trends, I like Mizzou to win.
I'll take Mizzou in the points any day as well, because not only is their quarterback leaving, there's rumors out there that Ohio State's coach, Ryan Day, is also going to be leaving too. He might be going to the NFL, and so Mizzou has all the momentum going forward.
It's a fun rivalry, but I remember back in the day, Urban Meyer just beat Michigan every time they played, and it put the whole program in a funk for years. It took Harbaugh.
It was Ohio State had a 20-game win streak on Michigan. It was unreal,
ridiculous. And I tell you, Harbaugh, whether you're stealing signs or not, I like it when Drinkwitz makes fun of it. But if I'm admittedly a bigger fan of the Cardinals than I am. Mizzou. But if we had to steal signs to win, okay, we took steroids. We didn't win anything with steroids. that was I'd have been all for the steroids if we'd actually won games. But we didn't. We sucked. What we were telling, give me a prediction about next session. You hear people saying, "Oh, it's just gonna be the killing fields, throwing a fit." I think there's a couple things. I don't think there's any way you can get the FRA done early, right? That feels like if the senator has to delay her resignation from the Senate, it might be to go to election. Am I wrong?
I think we're going to get it done. I don't think that's going to have to be an issue. You got one of the toughest senators, and Senator Huff, that's filed that bill. Senator Huff has always found a way to get the necessary things from Missouri accomplished. Look at I-70 in the budget this year.
I think look at it accomplished, but I don't think that's a January, February thing. I mean, I think that's going to be a problem going in. I don't think that's – some folks said, we're going to get that knocked out early. I'm like, are you? I don't know. Then the landfill bill, what happens on that?
I think you have two senators, and Senator Searpoy and Senator Bratton, that are probably motivated for different reasons. Senator Searpoy definitely thinks it's the right thing to do, and not to discount. I think Senator Bratton thinks it's the right thing to do too, but he definitely has a little bit extra riding on it with this election coming up for him. I think we'll probably see some movement on it. Whether we get it done or not, that's still up in the air.
Yeah, I think if you saw Rick Bratton go on the Senate floor and say, I got a little carried away, I shouldn't have said some of those things about Senator Coleman, Senator Trent. I think you probably get that done without a lot of hubbub. I think if you don't do that, I think if you don't even care to do that, why are we going to go through a bunch of grief to get it done? I think it kind of hinges on how he plays it. I think he can play it in a way that he gets what he wants. I think he can play it in a way that makes this a contentious thing. And the sad part is Senator Searpoy's there working his tail off on it. And I'm not sure all that work is I think it could all be made easier or undone rather quickly. Back in with give me a bill that you think goes that maybe no one's talking about right now. What about Senator Searpoy's regulatory bill? It's a big adult bill, complex thing. I wonder if he can get that done.
I had the blessing of doing Wake Up Mid-Missouri the other day. And I think that was one of the things I like to highlight was you have the majority floor leader and Senator O'Laughlin and the chair of Commerce who handles utilities. All their first 6 bills were dealing with public utilities. I don't know what happens, what overall the package looks like, but I bet you something happens in the realm of public utilities.
All right. What does Will Wheeler want for Christmas besides a United Fiber Yeti?
Oh, man, what does Will Wheeler want for Christmas?
And you don't have to pronounce it Yeti for Comvest. That's the word Yeti was changed forever by our man Tony Schiavone, who has a weird earring. That's strange. What do you want for Christmas?
Oh, we'll find out. I think I'll probably go spend a little bit of time down in Branson in the good old 33rd. It's always Christmas time.
You start opening presents. What present are you looking for?
Oh, man. I'm a simple man. I got some pans, got some new shoes. It's simple living. Nothing complex. Keep life simple.
Will, are you in need of a cast iron skillet?
I've already ordered a cast iron. I already got one of those.
Well, if you hadn't already ordered it, I was about to bust out a United Fiber cast iron skillet.
Oh,
I'm like a walking Persian trader. Well, thank you for the time. Congratulations to Senator Esslinger. I actually think she would have won re-election. She might have been the dang floor leader. I think that she truly took this job because she thinks she can do it best, and I agree with that. I don't think there's anybody that could do the job better. I'm excited to see how things work out for her going forward. And big session. Congratulations on doing such a good job that she was just the consensus pick. I mean, for this job, I think it says a lot about her that not only was the one she was the one they wanted, she was one that just made sense.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We will see you Sunday. 2 episodes left in 2023. Mike Keel, and then our end of the year show, the last show we do every year with Senator Eric Schmidt. But we'll see you Sunday with Lieutenant Governor Hugh and Will and the Prince of Phelps County, Cardetti, on This Week in Missouri Politics.